Welcome back to SugarMamma's Fireplay, the podcast where we explore smart, intelligent ways to create more financial freedom, financial security, and financial abundance in your life. Today's episode is a little different, but in the best possible way, because we're talking about one of the most important investments you'll ever make, your health. I'm joined by Dr Lena Attebo from Oracle Healthcare, who specialises in preventative medicine. Now, preventative healthcare is all about staying one or even two steps ahead of the game when it comes to your overall well-being. It's about knowing exactly what's happening in your body before it turns into a major illness as best you possibly can. And here's the kicker. Prevention is always, or almost always, far cheaper than actual treatment. Not just financially, but emotionally and physically too. And that's what I really want to explore today under the guidance of a doctor, Dr Lena Attebo. Now, in a world where the cost of living is rising what feels like every single day, and so many of us, including myself, have found ourselves putting off going and seeing a doctor or getting that mole checked, or getting those important tests done that you know you really need to do. And Dr. Attebo is here to help show us how to be as proactive as possible when it comes to our health, but in a budget-friendly, practical way. So I'm going to get a little bit passionate during this episode. We're going to cover which checkups are worth investing in, whether supplements and all those fitness health trackers are actually worth the hype, and even some really simple tests that you can actually do at home that cost nothing or close to nothing. So whether you're thinking about the cost of cancer treatment or simply wanting to live a longer, healthier, happier life with more energy and more quality time, this conversation is going to give you tools, clarity, and motivation, I hope, to start making preventative healthcare a priority in your life along with your financial goals. So let's get cracking. Dr. Attebo, I'm already getting tongue twisted because I'm so excited about this episode. I've been wanting to record this with you for so long, and I think I met you probably maybe 2 or 3 years ago. We were at a women's lunch, which I think was celebrating International Women's Day.
That's right.
And you said something really powerful to me where you said the cost of, getting on top of your health is so much cheaper than the actual treatment that's required further down the track. And if we all invested, into our health in a practical way, getting checks and tests done, we would take so much pressure off our healthcare system. I'm going to get you to explain who you are, but this is just why I'm so passionate about having you on the show, because your answer was just so inspiring and it gave me a huge kick up the arse, which I really needed to get my health in check and improve my health and well-being, which I'll come to in a little bit. But can you explain to me your background, who you are, what you do, and your passion, and how Oracle Healthcare fits into the piece of the puzzle here, because this is really important for our listeners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I started my medical career thinking I wanted to do acute care, intensive care, anaesthetics. That was my go. I realised very quickly, because I spent more time talking to people in the pre-anaesthetic assessment than I should have, and I realised that wasn't where my talent was. So I left and I went on a journey. And I found preventative healthcare and doing health assessments. And that was so empowering. I finished it, sort of complemented it, going back to uni and doing metabolic health, doing a master's degree in that. And that really opened my eyes to how powerful you can be in delivering prevention and avoiding the emergency room, intensive care. And I just loved it.
Mm.
I had the opportunity to set up Oracle Healthcare. That was 2022, March, when we opened. So we were at the end of the pandemic. I had returned to general practice where I found that delivering prevention, I didn't have enough time to do it. So it was a huge opportunity for me to open the clinic. It's really a passion of mine. So it's a long journey, but I'm here now.
And I'm sure you've had a huge impact on many people's lives, since opening your doors, and obviously prior. Can you explain to the listeners right now the difference between preventative healthcare and reactive healthcare? Because for me, that was the big light bulb moment where I I realized this is a non-negotiable. I've got to take my health more seriously and be on the front foot at all times.
Yeah. It's defining preventative healthcare. Australian government says it's just looking after your body and your mind. To me, that means it's like the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine that we work under in the clinic, which is eat well, do physical activity, avoid toxic substances, don't drink too much, don't smoke too much. Avoid mindfulness and meditation. It's another non-negotiable to introduce into your day, and get good quality sleep. It's foundational to our health, and it's becoming more and more important. And keeping connected with your family, with your friends, and that's what the pandemic taught us.
Power of the community.
Yeah, it's really powerful. So they're simple things, often overlooked. With the hype of, let's get your lipoprotein little A done and things like that. So you can know if you have a strong genetic predisposition to heart disease. But these are simple tools that everyone can use.
So when it comes to things like cancer, diabetes, and heart disease, which obviously, are the 3 biggest, medical issues that we're facing in this day and age, how does preventative healthcare fit in, and what are the benefits? Like, how beneficial is this by taking a proactive approach?
You can individually, if you are looking after yourself, we can live well for longer. So instead of spending the last 10 years of our life in frailty, we can live 10 years longer with good quality life.
So it's not just about lifespan, it's about health span.
Health span, yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to budget-friendly preventative healthcare, and I think this is so important because the cost of going to a doctor, I went to the doctor the other day, it was $150. It's expensive, and I admit I put it off for a while. For people who are feeling the pinch right now, they're on a tight budget. What are the smartest, most, budget-friendly ways that they can, and including myself, prioritize your health in this proactive manner without actually having to spend a fortune?
There's a lot of information that you can access. The government have really made available resources, and it's not just on the web, but it's also within local councils, communities. There's screening programs which are completely free.
Like such as breast checks, like mammograms.
Breast checks, bowel cancer screening, and doing, they've just introduced lung cancer screening, which just kicked off in July 25, but there's eligibility for that. You've been a 30-pack-year smoker and you're aged between 50 and 75. The government has to see that they spending their money wisely to, pick up the most amount of people with lung cancer. There's no point screening in your 30s. They're going to be screening a lot of people, and it's going to be spending a lot of money. So they're quite targeted, but they picked up, it's saving a life. And treating early is a lot less cost than finding something quite late and with expensive treatments.
I noticed on the back of a bus the other day that you can actually get a free pap smear home testing device that they send it to you. It's in the mail and you just send it back. And then when I did get a checkup the other day, I was told that you could also do a bowel cancer screening test at home. It's a kit that you get sent automatically when you reach age 45, which I have just recently done.
Yes.
So there are a lot of free resources. So is it just a matter of jumping online and seeing what you qualify for, or is just Medicare just automatically send you these things, or do you need to be making these phone calls and requesting these things?
Yeah. So with the lung cancer screening, you get registered on the National Cancer Screening Service, and your GP can easily do that when you go and see them. Your cervical screening, that kicks off at 25. And again, it's when you're in at the GP and they're like, right, okay, you're sexually active, you're 25, let's start the screening process. And that's been a huge success. The rate of cervical cancer has dropped phenomenally.
Because of this preventative screening?
Over the years, yep. So they sort of, with a little bit of trepidation, they stepped into, okay, can we do, self-collect, where you get the kit at home and you collect the sample at home. And it's proving really efficacious, because people that were avoiding it because it's not very pleasant, and to get a kit and you just do it simply at home.
Yeah, in the privacy of your own home, and it costs nothing. You're not having to make a doctor's appointment, go and sit in a waiting room, and then obviously pay a certain amount of money to see the doctor, especially if you're not on a tight budget.
Yeah. The other things are taking a little bit of ownership of your own health. Incorporate active living into your day. So if you're commuting on a bus to work, often I chat with the patient and say, how about you get off a few stops earlier, and walk the rest of the way. Incorporate cycling as part of the commute. And then there's active kids vouchers that you can get from Service New South Wales.
Yes.
You can download and use those. They want to join a club or something like that, and you can get some rebate for that. So there's a lot of government incentives that are out there. The council, they might have some programs that are running that you can engage with.
A lot of them have noticed, like, free or budget-friendly, like yoga classes and Tai Chi and meditation classes as well, or or open talks, to introduce people to these particular exercises or mindfulness activities.
Yeah,
the council is such an untapped, brilliant resource of free or budget-friendly activities to help improve, your physical well-being, but as your mental and spiritual well-being as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. The other one, health coaching. There's a program called Get Healthy that you can just access online. You can enroll in it yourself, or your GP can enroll you. And it may be that you want to stop smoking, or you want to lose weight, or I want to start exercising, pre-diabetic, I want to start exercising or reverse this, all those things. You can access a health coach and it's free if you're in New South Wales and you're above age 16.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's like having a personal trainer / motivational coach in your pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. Quit line for stopping smoking. There's mindfulness. There's a lot of free apps you can download, and it's really important to incorporate it in your day. I often have, my go-to it's called pranayama free. It's just yoga breathing. It's slowing down the expiration, dampens down the fight-flight system, that, it's running away from the lion. So the best thing you can do is take yourself outside in the morning, get some sunlight that wakes up the pineal gland, and do exercise, and then finish it off with some mindfulness meditation, a couple of deep breaths while you're stretching. And it really sets you up for the day.
One of my favourite things is getting up early in the morning, and I don't wear sunglasses. It's the only time I don't wear sunglasses, but I walk my dogs in the sunlight. And it is such a brilliant way to start the day. And you do have such a different mindset and attitude for the rest of the day once you've, gotten up, got your body moving, and it's all free.
Yeah.
Yep. Vitamin
that's right.
D from the sun.
Yep. And the sleep psychologists, they love it because they say it improves your sleep.
Kickstarts the circadian rhythm, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
All right. When it comes to the essential checkups, and obviously this answer will probably change for each age group, but what are the essential checkups that are a non-negotiable? We can't put off, should avoid putting off. What would you say avoid doing these things?
Yeah. RACGP, they have what they call a red book. It's in the 10th edition now. It's all about the preventative care services that are available. And it's GPs that have got together with experts, and they have worked out exactly what we should be doing at what age. And this is to prevent cancer. So that's where their cervical cancer screening program starts. Sexually active above age 25. As you mentioned before, bowel cancer, they've reduced that now to 45 years. Breast cancer screening, from age 50 to 74, but you can actually dip into that, start that at 40 to 50. You can attend any breast screen in New South Wales if you've got a lump or you're worried. There's all those non-negotiable which have got a lot of evidence base behind them. It's usually Australian. They take NHMRC advice recommendations, or it's based on big systematic reviews. Things like just checking your blood pressure. You can drop into the chemist. They'll do your blood pressure.
Oh, wow.
And you can do that where, from 18 to 45. After 45, we've got something called a CVD risk score. So you can actually type in CVD risk online and then go through and answer the questions. You will need to know your blood pressure, your systolic, which is the top reading, and also your cholesterol, which is the total cholesterol to the good cholesterol ratio. And so you will need to know those numbers, but otherwise you can fill that in and it'll give you a score at the end. Are you 1% risk of having a cardiovascular event in the next 5 years, or are you 5%, or are you really high, 10%? That's something you can just simply do, call it up online.
What about things like skin cancer, melanoma? I think, is it one of the highest killers for the younger generation?
Yeah, we're the highest in the world. It's called the Australian disease for good reason. That skin cancer campaign, Slip, Slop, Slap, Seek, Slide, that's been hugely successful to the point where our kids are getting vitamin D deficiency.
Really?
So we've had to sort of go, right, okay, when the UV is less than 3, go out and get a bit of sun on your skin. Yeah, but that's vitally important and that's been going, since I've been a doctor. But that's more opportunistic screening. You do want to know the risk of melanoma. The melanoma website, they have a melanoma risk score. Again, you can look that up and plug in the numbers and you can find out what your lifetime risk is of melanoma.
And if if you do this and you go, wow, my score's quite high, that I would imagine that's one of those non-negotiable skin cancer checkups.
Yeah.
What's the difference between going and seeing the GP for a skin cancer checkup versus getting, mole mapping through a dermatologist who specialises in skin cancer? Is it worth paying that bit more for that level of care and accessing that technology?
The people in their 30s are getting more techno savvy and they're looking for that extra edge in the skin cancer check. But really, it comes down to basics. Let's have a look at your skin. Let's see how much sun damage you have on your skin. What's your family history? All these are factors in the melanoma risk score. And then seeing if that's high, see your GP, get referred. We have a Vectra WB360 machine in the clinic, which is probably one of the only private ones in New South Wales. It does an amazing thing of photo mapping in 3D, and then you do digital dermoscopy, so you see the layering of the pigment in the skin. It's still in trial in Australia, and hopefully at the end of the trial, we'll be rolling out a melanoma screening program.
Wow.
But as so far, the results that have come is that people with a high burden of moles and pigmented lesions, they are the ones that are worthwhile photo mapping. So it's not for everyone at the moment. So people who have looked after their skin, only have a couple of moles, and usually the finding with the ACEMID trial, they came down at 1,000 lesions. So if you're above 1,000 lesions, definitely worth photo mapping, and go and see your GP and get a good skin check. They will elevate or refer on if they're worried about anything that they see. And also the self-check. Over the years, I have remarked on, it's the masseurs who's massaging your back who says that mole, it is not good, and then you have blood on the sheets or it's itching. Hairdressers finding moles on the scalp, when they're washing the hair, you should go and get that checked. Wedding photos, the backless dress, and someone's looking at the photo and saying, what's that, dark mole there? And people checking their skin themselves, they actually know. They pick up on the signs. It's itching, it's changing, it's bleeding. I don't like it. And they're convincing often the GP, let's do a biopsy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in listening to the patient.
Okay, so when it comes to the tests to invest in, the expensive ones, when would you say, yes, bite the bullet and do it? And when would you say, not worth your money, just, you can do this instead? I know that's a very generalised question.
It is. It all comes down to, the patient's in front of you and you're taking a full history. You see where their age is at, their gender, their family history, what's the genetics. Do they have, say, Lynch syndrome, which increases your risk of bowel cancer? So you'd be starting bowel cancer screening early. Are you of Ashkenazi Jewish descent? They have a very high risk of cancer. So again, you'd be more aggressive in doing that. Then you're examining, you're putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, and then you investigating and doing some targeted investigations. And then based on that, you're doing your risk scores, CVD risk score, diabetes risk score, melanoma, and you're basically putting it all together and then saying, look, this is the way forward. This is what I think you should be doing. The government paves the way and gives us recommendations for ages when we start screening and what to do. But that's population-based. It's not individually based. You might be targeting some investigations because of symptoms or because of family history, or so you're not participating in the population screening, but you're individualising it.
Are there situations where, for example, you need to go get a test done, say a internal ultrasound for ovarian cancer, which is obviously one that doesn't have any symptoms? Is it appropriate to ask a doctor if they can have it, put it as bulk billing? I mean, is that an option where some people can do that, or is that inappropriate?
Yeah. Look, screening is not Medicare rebatable. Across the board, blood tests, investigations. You really have to have symptoms or signs to order investigations under Medicare. There's exemptions where there's Medicare billing for a heart health check, say, and that's, you can do ECG, cholesterol, so it's a resting ECG, cholesterol, and then you're talking about the lifestyle. So that's for a preventative assessment, probably takes 20 minutes. The others, we have over age 75, we have a health assessment. And again, that has, it's basically doing history examination and then targeting some investigations. But apart from that, if the doctor gets audited from Medicare and we've written screening and the patient comes in and I just want my yearly blood test done, well, we'll be paying that money back to the government.
Okay. All right. What about supplements and nutrition? Like my social media feed, it must be like the demographic I'm being, recommended collagen and, lotions and potions and powders and tablets. And I think I take a vitamin B tablet with niacinamide for my skin that I was recommended it for, I think, melanomas. It helps apparently.
BCCs.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
And then I take iron because I know from doing a blood test I had a low iron. But obviously not all supplements are the same. There are some poor quality ones. Where do you stand with that? Because some of these supplements are really expensive. I looked at one the other day and it was $200 a month for a collagen subscription. I was like, that's just madness. Like, I could not justify that. Where's the evidence? Is it worth it? When do you go, no, we're excreting a lot of these? Like, and obviously it varies. Some worth it, some aren't. But in a nutshell, can you help me answer this?
Yeah. I had to resort to the dietitian that I work with, and both of them, they basically said, we always encourage food first approach. Absolutely. Now, there might be deficiencies like you brought up, vitamin D, you're working a lot indoors, you don't get out enough in the sun, we don't get enough from food. Doing supplementation, especially during winter, makes total sense. Interesting segue there. If you sunbake mushrooms, in winter, you might need 1 or 2 hours. Depending on the size of the mushroom, you might need longer. It actually then produces vitamin D. So when you eat the mushroom, you get your whole vitamin D amount that you need. So you don't need to take a tablet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I never knew that.
One of the dietitians, Dr Flavia Fayette-Moore, who is better known as Dr. Flav. She's Brazilian-born, Canadian-raised, and Australian-made keynote speaker, scientist, space nutritionist, and entrepreneur.
Wow.
She always talks about sunbaking mushrooms.
Wow.
Yeah, it's 20 minutes in summer, 1 to 2 hours in winter. The calcium, that's for bone strength. Iron, I saw recently, and that's iron deficiency. Most of the time in women, that's because of our periods. And there's the next thing, then you start looking at diet. Is there enough in the diet? I read the other day, we are starting to see iodine deficiency. And that's because we're eating sourdough bread and our salt isn't iodized.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's something that I learnt in med school, that, people in Switzerland that weren't getting enough iodine because they weren't close to the sea. But there you go. It's the change in our diet and nutrients not in it. Vitamin B12, vegetarians and vegans, yes, we can supplement those. As you say, the influencers promoting supplements, they could be above the daily requirements. So like the AG1 green powder, it's actually got above daily requirement of vitamin C. You're far better off eating an orange and getting the fibre and the vitamin C. And that's $95. Yeah,
wow.
That's just one example, The other one that's in the media at the moment is vitamin B6 toxicity. It is sneaking into our food, and basically in cereal, weight loss shakes, energy drinks, and even read a report from a doctor who was taking magnesium, and it was in the magnesium supplement. And then she got vitamin toxicity, and that gives you tingling and numbness in hands and feet, difficulty walking. I mean, it's not very pleasant toxicity.
Wow, especially considering you're taking it to get better and actually getting sicker.
Yeah, and then difficult to diagnose because you're not thinking about it.
No.
Yeah.
Gosh. So is that something you would say, look, go and see a dietitian and get some expert advice as to what you need, and they can look at blood test results and let she go, well, hang on, you're actually okay for vitamin C, but you're low on iron, so we need to deal with that individually, just rather than just throwing a whole pile of money at a variety of different vitamins and supplements and powders.
Yeah. Most of the time she'll be steering you towards whole foods.
Yeah. And of course, number one is try and eat it from its true pure source.
Yeah, because it has so many more things in it, the phytonutrients, and fibre, absolutely. And that's what the dietitians do. They just look at you at an individual basis, and we do some nutritional bloods with that if needed.
Okay, what about wearable devices and trackers? I follow Dr Peter Attebo, and I listen to his podcasts, and I was listening to him the other day, and he said that one of the first things we do when dealing with someone who's got insomnia is we take off we remove their tracking device, because it obviously can create sleep anxiety, and that sometimes it's not even. And I've read obviously I think it's Matt Walker, Why We Sleep. He said sometimes those devices are actually not accurate at all. They're not cheap. Where do you stand with those?
Again, you go back to basics, sleep hygiene.
Really?
Yeah. You start with sleep hygiene and you chat to a person. Are you getting to bed, at a reasonable time? So you give yourself 6 to 8 hours of sleep. They might be working late into the night and getting to bed. They miss the 10 p.m. sort of, now I'm going to fall asleep, and they sort of falling asleep at 1 a.m. What's standing in their way? Are they on the computers? Do they need to get off the computers an hour earlier, get rid of the blue light that wakes you up, dim the lights in the house, make the room nice and cool, just setting and having a wind down routine. Most important thing is to wake up at the same time every day, as I alluded to before, because if we change that, we get like jet lag, and we call it social jet lag. So Monday morning is always hard to get up because you slept in over the weekend.
Yes.
Yeah. So, everyone does. But I agree. Trackers, whether you use them for exercise, whether you use them for calorie counting, whether you use it for sleep, it can cause anxiety. I mean, there's privacy concerns. Where's the data stored? Where does it go? They're not medical devices and not part of the regulations like a medical device is. People get anxious because tracking their heart rate, and they're going, I get the high heart rate alarm, and it's happening many times, and they end up in front of the cardiologist and have a Holter monitoring, just to prove that the tracker is actually got a false positive.
Okay, so we shouldn't be relying on if they're fine to wear them, they can help motivate us, and we can obviously use them to get moving more, but don't be 100% reliant on this.
Yeah, I mean, I use mine. I wear an Apple Watch, and it reminds me to stand every hour or move around. if I haven't done that. And that's super useful. We know that standing up, doing like little exercise snacks during our day, especially if you've got a job setting, doing 10 squats is really beneficial for blood sugar and cholesterol. 10 squats every hour is what my EP prescribes to me.
Okay.
so they are useful, but take them with a grain of salt.
Okay.
Yeah.
To come back to the cost of fitness, and I want to ask you about Oracle Healthcare and what you do there and how you help people, but from your perspective as a doctor, what are the real costs, but financially, but also personally as well, when it comes to being diagnosed with something major like a cancer or heart disease or even diabetes? Like, what would you say are the biggest costs involved?
Personally, getting big diagnosis like that, obviously you may not be able to work. So it's the cost of not having an income. And, not everyone has income protection. And then it's also physically, because if you get diabetes, you might get poor eyesight with it, or numb feet, and you're getting ulcers and things like that, which decrease your quality of life. You're not able to do and participate fully in life. Also emotionally, the trauma of getting a terrible diagnosis. We know that diabetes, 70% of diabetics have diabetes distress. It's not true depression, but it is the stress of having to deal with your blood sugars, for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, having to calorie count, think, carb count, how much carbs do I have on my plate? It is being made a bit easier because we've got CGM trackers, so continuous glucose monitoring trackers, which makes it easier for the person. But still, it's this constant vigilance. And depression, it's an individual cost. If you pan back to a government cost, it's a huge load on the government.
Yeah.
We're talking billions of dollars. $4 billion per annum in 2017, quoted by the Australian Productivity Commission. But also I think it was $8.9 billion for mental health, and it was a similar amount for injuries. So
Wow.
the cost to the healthcare system is enormous. Like, we want to save the environment, but we can also help the government to spend these dollars more wisely on the environment if we look after ourselves and don't cause us to be a cost to the government. And if you panned back to the whole world, I think WHO landed a big report just before I came in, just a couple of days ago, which basically said the report was titled "Saving Lives, Spending Less: The Global Investment Case for," they call it, non-communicable diseases, which means chronic disease. And it demonstrates that return of investment for preventative health interventions are things like reducing an unhealthy diet. It's 14 to 1. saving $14 by spending $1 in preventative care. Alcohol.
That's huge.
Alcohol is 9 to 1.
Wow.
It's enormous. Tobacco is 7 to 1. Managing chronic disease is 5 to 1. Cardiovascular disease, 8 to 1. Screening early detection of cancer is 6 to 1. So it's an enormous amount of money to be saved.
And that money could then be put into so many other areas in our communities, in our economy, in our basically everywhere.
Yeah.
All right. I want to hear about Oracle Healthcare, because what you do for obviously corporate clients, but also individuals, is phenomenal. And you really do. I mean, you were a huge kick up the ass, which I needed for me. And since having my Oracle Healthcare checkup, I move my body so much more. I've been doing weight. I'm like telling you all of the good things I've changed in my life. I do so much more weight training. Actually, I did barely any weight training before that. I'm so much more mindful of like getting up and moving and walking up a hill, which is I think what one of your physiologists recommended I do. And, being more mindful is like eating less and learning how to switch off more. So, it's been really powerful. Can you explain to everyone what you do with corporates and how you work with corporates, but also how you work with individuals who go, you know what? I need to come and see you. I want to get a full health check. I'm paranoid, I'm worried, or I've got a family history. How can people reach out to you or speak to you? And how does Oracle Healthcare do this amazing thing for so many people?
That's really kind words. It's a matter of, I've created, I suppose, time with the person. So you get a good hour with the doctor. So you book in for your health check, and you have an hour with the doctor. At the same time, you see an exercise physiologist that goes through your exercise, dietitian that goes through the diet. You have blood tests done. It's all on the same day, and the results come back, within the 2 hours that you're there in the clinic.
Really comprehensive health check, efficiently done, all within one day.
Yeah. The power of it is it's all together and we're all speaking to each other. So we're handing the patient over from what we call room to room. But, the exercise physiologist comes and hands over the findings and what the person's goals are. So we're very much focused on what the person wants to achieve. And it may be they want to hydrate more. And in doing so, they lose 10 kilos. I've got lots of stories. It's not just one way of getting to the end goal. And it's not my goal, it's the patient's goal. So that's what we really focus on. And we have the full resources of North Shore Hospital, both private and public, because we're located in the North Shore Health Hub. So we can reach out and get things done quite quickly, which is a huge advantage. So people who come from country areas where it's really hard to access health, and they come in, spend a day and walk out of there sort of mesmerised by all the data they've got. And we try to speak the simple language. And as you say, have little rules that you walk away with. I need to get up every day. I need to walk up that hill. I need to move my body. I need to eat less, I need to prioritise my sleep. Yeah. Those sort of messages.
So many of them are free and it's so simple and it's common sense, but somehow it's not common sense because a lot of us are not following it unless we get told. And we look at the data that shows us where we're going wrong, which is what you do. You create that awareness and that educational piece so that we can take a more preventative, proactive approach with our health and, the quality of life and that lifespan. And I say to all of my friends, just go get it done. Go see Lena, get a checkup. And obviously it's only a snapshot at that point in time, but the peace of mind that you create, going, okay, I know where I stand. I know where I need to improve. I know where I'm actually doing okay. Like I was really worried that I would have bone density because my mother had osteoporosis. And I knew I had been signaled as having that DEXA scan with you was brilliant because I was like, okay, all right, the hard work, is paying off. I'm making the right decision. So I think that information is just so valuable. And, we work so hard on our financial goals and being smart with money, like our body can't do any of those things if it's not functioning properly. And when we invest in our health, we have so much more time and energy and passion to put into the things that mean the most to us, beyond obviously investing and, being sensible with money. Well, look, everyone, thank you so much for listening. I know today's episode went on a little bit longer than my normal episodes, but as you can tell, there was just so much valuable information here for you. So I hope, obviously, this conversation with Lena and myself, Dr. Attebo, that is, has inspired you to think differently about your own health and not look at it as a expensive cost and essential investment. Because the truth is, as you now know, prevention really does pay. Making time for those regular checkups, self-testing, getting those kits, finding out what free screening exists, eating well, prioritising good sleep hygiene, getting the right amount of sunlight at the right time of day, obviously in a sensible, smart way. But also making sure that you listen to your body. I always say never underestimate your own intuition, particularly a woman's intuition, and protecting yourself, having those conversations, speaking to your doctor and going and booking those tests in. Financial freedom isn't just about having money in the bank. It's about, obviously, as I just said, being healthy enough to enjoy it, to live with energy and to spend the quality time with the people you love the most. Now, if you found this episode helpful, please make sure you go and send it and share it with all of your friends and family members who need to have that reminder, that kick up the arse like I needed, to put their health first. Enough is enough. And as always, thank you so much for listening to SugarMamma's Fireplay, and most importantly, to Dr. Lena Attebo from Oracle Healthcare for coming in today, who is incredibly busy, by the way, and sharing this really wise, sensible, practical, budget-friendly advice.